you ever wonder how I get power in my RV? Like, how do I turn on the fans? Get air. There's 3 forms of power on my RV. Now, I want you to understand that this area up here, this is called the chassis. So in my RV, this is where I'm gonna actually be able to drive. And then this part of my RV is called the coach. So this is the house, and they're separate. The battery for the chassis, there's one up there, and then there's a battery back here for the coach. So I have 2 batteries. Now, batteries power things like these lights, or the batteries can power this fan that I have going right now. The batteries can also power my TV if I want to turn on my TV, and some other small electronics. The other cool thing about my unit is that my fridge, this fridge right here, is actually powered by batteries. It's called a 12-volt fridge, so it's powered by batteries as well. Now, when I mentioned 12 volt, let me explain that. So the RV has the batteries. Let's just stay on the batteries, okay? When I want to use my battery power in the RV and I'm not plugged up to some type of external power source, either at an RV park or into a house, some type of electrical unit, I actually have to use what's on board here. So I either have my batteries, which the way that I use my batteries, they're connected in here, or I have to use this little device called an inverter, which I just unplugged. So you heard the fan go off, but here's what's up. So I have this is like a 12 volt, this is a car charger. And what I do is I plug it in to here, okay? Fan is plugged into this inverter, and then I plug this in up here. And for mine, it has this little button on it, so I just turn that button on. You can see it go off. You see it? So the button, I'm one hand in this. So the button goes off. But once that's on, I can turn the fan on. Okay? Now, that's all being done off my batteries, but I do want to show you I actually have normal plugs in here as well. So if you come down here, you can see there's a regular plug. This is what's like your 120 and 110 volt plugs. And I actually have something plugged into it. So you can see that I plug that in. And that goes to my toothbrush. So I can still use these 120 volt plugs, but the problem is if I want to power those, I have to either be hooked up to an RV park or a house and have external power coming into the RV, or I have to turn on my generator, and let me show you where that's at. My generator is underneath, and that's how I would power this if I wasn't actually hooking up to this electrical source. So I'm going to show you where my generator's underneath. It's not something I could really easily get to. So if you can see that green box right there, now, you see, if I have my generator turned on, which I have a problem right now, my generator won't turn on. I'm gonna show you the panels where I check all this in just a second. So I can turn on my generator and power the electrical outlets in here and some things that are gonna take more power, like this air condition unit, if I want to turn on my air condition unit or this microwave back here, if I want to turn on this microwave, I have to have my generator or external power. So things that take a lot of power, they have to come from a generator or an external source. Things that take a little bit of power, like lights and things like that, they don't require as much. The fan, I can run that off of battery power. Generator, batteries, and then if I want to cook on my stove here, you can see I use my stove for other things. I do have a stove and I can actually cook on my stove. But to do that, that would require me to have gas and propane. And then the other thing is, if I'm not hooked up to an electrical source to heat my water for the sink, so if I want to wash my hands with hot water, or if I want to take a shower, you know, shower it up and have hot water, I need to have a way to heat it. So the only other way that I can heat it is from propane, so that's gas. Propane, you actually fill that up either at the RV parks will have it, the dealerships will normally have it, or you can pull up to like truck stops, things like that, and you can get it. And then they also make these things called propane extenders. So all of mine are actually stored on board here underneath the RV. There's tons of compartments and tanks and all kinds of stuff. This is my propane. So you can see. Battery power to power the lights and small electronics. Generator to power big things like the air condition, the microwave. If I want to cook on the stove, or if I want to get hot water, I need my propane. Unless I'm plugged up to a power source, I can get my hot water via electric. So essentially from here to here is my power, because this unit is equipped like that. But the propane, either way, if I want to cook on that grill, I have to have propane. So I have to have propane to do that. And propane powers my generator underneath. So if I want to turn on my generator, I have to have propane to power my generator, my air condition, my microwave. So those are things that I have to pay for. Propane, water's usually kind of free if you get it at the RV park while you're there. And then my batteries, those are technically on board. Now the catch to my batteries that's really cool is that they're charged via solar power. So my batteries actually work in a really cool way that they would normally die if you just kept using your batteries. So right now, if the fridge was on and the fan is on and this light, or say I wanted to open this fan, it's all powered off the batteries. Well, they can only go for so long and then they die. If you're driving in the chassis, it will cycle the battery power and keep it powered. I'm going to show you the control panel so you can see where I do all this here in just a second to monitor these things. But this is how you live in here. So if you want to take your power with you and not be connected, you have your generator, your batteries, propane. I actually forgot to tell you. So the one other thing that my propane does, if I'm not connected to electric, because I can heat my coach off of electric, but it'll heat the water in my RV to heat the coach. So propane, my coach is heated by water throughout. Not all RVs are like this. I use a system called Truma, and my Truma system does this. There's another one called Aldi that I used to have, but these are really interesting features about my RV that will heat the RV. So what happens is water goes around this shell that we're in, and it heats the walls and kind of like travels throughout, and I don't know, it's kind of weird how it works, but it's pretty cool. But either way, I have to have either electricity or propane to use it. So if I'm actually traveling, then I have to use it on propane or boondocking. So if you haven't checked out that video, make sure to check out the description below this video where I did a video about boondocking and what that is. But I would have to have propane to heat the coach if I was boondocking. Hopefully I explained that right. If you have questions, make sure to put a comment below this video so I can answer those. and you might be in another video of mine. But make sure to check the link in the descriptions below these videos, because I put tons of tutorials, tips, tricks, my downloads, things like that. They're going to help you in this whole RVing process, and you might want to check that out, because I've done a lot of dumb things and spent a lot of money on stupid things. Batteries are powered off the solar panel. So my solar panel, I don't know how I lived without it. I used to have a trailer and no solar panel. People go without the solar panels, but I have 2 installed, and they power my battery. So when my battery starts to die, it's constantly charging off the solar panel. If it's cloudy outside, it won't be charging. How I monitor some of this stuff, because this is what you have to keep a check on in your RV, is like how many volts are coming out, because some things you can't power out of these 12-volt outlets, and you have to have bigger power for it. So let me show you my gauges, and hopefully this will all make sense. So this is my panel for pretty much everything in the RV, but I'm just going to show you, like, if I wanted to go to my lights, I have my lights in here. If that's the cab light, trunk light, so these are the different lights. And then the main thing that I care about are my levels. So these are like my tank levels and battery levels. So this is my fresh water, and it tells me how much clean water I have in the RV. And then this is my gray tank, so it tells me where all the soapy water from the shower and sink is at, and if I need to empty it. This is for my toilet, my black tank. So if my black tank ends up being full, I will have to empty that. That is your toilet water. So you have a fresh tank for clean water, a gray tank for soapy water, and then a black tank for poopy water. And then these are my batteries. So I have my coach, and this is in the back where the house is at, and it tells me where it's at. And then I have my chassis. The chassis battery is for the front where I drive. And then this is my gas monitor, so I can tell how much propane I have to be able to heat my water with and cook with. And then if you come over here, it's hard to see, but this is my solar controller. And there's not really much I do on here except just try to monitor. I'm trying to get you a little light in here, it's kind of dark, but I try to monitor my levels, and this charging my batteries right now, so it just keeps my batteries charged. And that's what the solar panels do, is the solar panels convert electricity into my battery over here. So the solar panel this solar panel converts electricity to this battery to charge it. And this is my generator, but I told you it will not start. And then I have some other panels, but I really never use them. But I have like a fuse box down here. So if I need to go to my fuses, I can check those down here. And then I've never actually had to go down there for any God-given reason, thankfully. And then this is like my circuit breaker. So you can see, even though it looks like I have a lot of room in here, I do, but then some of these drawers are covered up by other stuff. This is my other panel, and this is for my gas, for my propane to heat my water, and also to actually like heat my coach if I want to get hot air in my coach. So this is just like, this is if I want to heat my coach, this is to get hot water, and there's some different features on here. So that's another panel. And I have to actually, you know, turn my propane on if I want to use it. And I usually just turn this off so it doesn't do anything. Those are some of the major components of how I monitor the power and the electricity and things in here. So now you know how I get electricity in the RV and how it works. So I want to know what questions you have, and I want to make sure that you check the description below this video to find out what are the top 10 mistakes that most RVers make. I'm Brandy of blogandbrandy.com, and if you haven't checked out my RV site, RVersity, you should definitely do that. I created it out of my love-hate relationship for RVs and all of these issues that I have, the fun the drama, the tutorials, it's all there. You can check the description below for all the goodies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.